For every great thing, there is a beginning. Ace Combat 4 was that beginning. The beginning of a great series of flight sims. While it is definitely not the first in the series, it was still a game that made many of the defining features Ace Combat is known for today. Of all the main components within Ace Combat 4, the story remains the most remarkable. In many ways, it is humble in nature, especially by the fact that it is easy to overlook. The story centers on a young boy experiencing firsthand the setting of war, while also befriending the enemy who had killed his parents, known as Yellow 13. One of the most significant aspects is his voice. It has this very monotone tone to it.
Before I knew it, everything changed. The language they taught us at school.
It almost sets the atmosphere and expresses the narrator's depressed mood. With nowhere to turn, he befriends the enemy, and they are the only ones who take him in. In many ways, it describes the bleak circumstances of the war as Yellow 13 deteriorates to the narrator's observation, going from the powerful fighter Ace to a man heavily wounded by loss of his favorite wingman. As monotone as the narrator's voice may be, it fits the bleak atmosphere of being on the outskirts of war. What about the gameplay? Ace Combat 4 boasts 18 missions to play through in the campaign. Although there are some variations like destroying Stonehenge or taking out a bomber's base, most of them consist of taking out a number of targets before time runs out. None of them feel repetitive, as you'll be doing things within different environments. Missions also differ, so sometimes Stonehenge will be a factor, but the pilots may come to shoot you down. Overall, there is inherent variety in the missions you play in as much as the planes. You get to choose the weapons you want in a plane, there's a good variety of it. While the graphics aren't really too much to brag about, with most of the textures looking kinda grimy, I will say that some of the models look really good. And as for the soundtrack, well, have a listen for yourself.
Keep an eye on those bandits. Mobius 1, engage.
The enemy held Wrigley Air Base.
Every track is just filled with so much richness in the orchestral music and instrumentation. It felt like every song fit the mission in one sense or the other. Having said all that, Ace Combat 4 is not without its problems. First of all, I felt like the story could have interweaved more with the pilot you were playing as. Mobius 1, the narrator, never meets in real life. There are a couple missions here and there that seem to signal to the story. However, these are few and far between. The other problem I have is that there could have been more mission variety. Most of the missions, like I said earlier, require you to stack up points in order to move on and progress. However, I feel like that they could have made more variations of the missions while still sticking to the core gameplay. Even though the environments change, it still felt like I was doing similar actions throughout the game. So I will admit that they change up the mission structure once in a while. Overall, Ace Combat 4 is a true masterpiece. All of you should check out Ace Combat 4 if you haven't already. It is a true classic from 2001. The story is truly something that resonates with me. Even though it has its flaws, the narrative really does carry the story forward. It was cool seeing how some of the missions correlated with the events that happened within the story. At the same time, the gameplay is filled with replay value considering that there are a lot of different ways to approach missions depending on which plan you choose. Meaning you can replay the game multiple times. I've S-ranked the entire game on normal mode and unlocked my X2, and it truly is a grand experience. Overall, Ace Combat 4 truly is one of the best games that I've played, and it is a notable addition to your PS2 collection.
Open all the doors.